So I want to ask you two hard questions after you inspired us and touched our hearts, which frankly, an amazingly articulate presentation. And when you have a powerful cause, you need to be able to articulate that in a way that touches people at a fundamental level. So two other teams let's talk about. Let's talk about, I'll throw you an easy one first. If we could all help you in aggregate fund your work, who's supporting you now and how would you like to see that change, that mix of your business model, that team? So talk about your funding team and then talk about when you're an entrepreneur, you also have to keep things going on the home front. And that hasn't always been easy. And it's not always easy for an entrepreneur because, you know, somebody's got to drive the kids to school and keep everything going. So were there personal costs of being that? So let's talk about those two teams.
Okay, the first one we talked briefly earlier. Most of the funding for One Heart Worldwide actually comes from private individuals and private family foundations. I started out in Utah. We didn't have a lot of corporate sponsors in Utah. I moved out to the Bay Area because I had lived here before and I really felt that it's such an innovative and global and very social entrepreneur friendly community. And I really have found people in this area very willing to step up and help at every level, from small businesses to big businesses. And so for me, I'm new in the Bay Area, so making new contacts, merging, meeting new partners are ways that people can help me, I mean, in a big way, because I know that people that are high net individuals, they want to help and they often don't know how. And they don't often know that their money actually makes a change, it makes a difference. And we operate at 18% administrative cost, and most of our money is in countries where we're working, and my team members are relentless. They go by foot because we work in the most remote areas, and there are no roads, and they go for weeks at a time by foot to every pregnant woman in the community.
So when we were talking about
unbelievable.
Brocade having a week where you could do anything, capturing some YouTube clips that could deepen the storytelling of this, figuring out a mobile and digital media strategy that would allow people to click and give, figuring out high net worth individuals. So Brocade's money is in some bank. That bank has a trust division. That trust division could become partners here. So you need to build this ecosystem of funders. Now you had a owner from car repair shop. Is one of your, so don't think it has to be a huge Silicon Valley company. It could also be.
Yeah, one of our largest donors, he started a transmission company in East LA, and one of my friends had met Gil, and he said, you have to come with me. And so he goes out, I just want to warn you, he's a little strange, and I'm like, I doubt it, you know, I mean, in my world, no one's strange. So we were driving to East LA, and we pull up at a car mechanic shop, and I go in, and there's a Latina woman behind the desk, and everybody's in their, you know, car maintenance clothes, and all of a sudden a guy comes in and starts playing the guitar, and then all the people in the shop had gone to TM meditation, so they were all TM meditators. And then there was Gil, who's like 80 years old now, with a pair of shorts on, white t-shirt, very big thick glasses, and he just took one look at me and he said to the rest of them, should we give her a bunch of money? And they're all like, oh yeah. And he's like, he's been one of my greatest donors, and he's hilarious. I mean, nobody would even believe that I was sitting in a East LA car transmission shop and that they were writing me a check for $100,000. And it's people like that, I mean, from all walks of life. We want our world to be a better place. No one in this room would want a woman to die in childbirth. Every single one of us have the thing in common that we have a mother. And, you know, so why is that happening? And what I love in this room is that there are women from every ethnic background. I mean, there's There's Latinos, there's Asians, there's Caucasians, there's, you know, every ethnic group is represented. And we are one society. What happens in Japan happens to us. What happens in Nepal is happening to us.
Now, tell us about the doctor that inspired all of this in the first place. And what happened there with your family?
Pardon?
With your
with
family.
my ex-husband. My ex-husband, who actually went to Santa Clara University, and he's an anesthesiologist, and I was a nurse, and the two of us had an opportunity to go to South America with Interplast, and we became involved in doing voluntary work. And after that trip, it changed my life so significantly that I started Interplast Utah and Interplast International, and I just got off on this whole tangent. And he just sort of was like, you know what? I think you're going in a whole different direction than where I want to go. And you're not home anymore, and this is becoming more important to you. And so we did go our separate ways, although we're very close friends, and now his daughter goes to Santa Clara University. And that was a pivotal moment in my life because I had to make a choice. Am I going to be a wife and stay home and have a doctor husband, or am I going to give up everything and go help people that really need my services? And it's not easy to be married and have a relationship and do the kind of work that I do. If you don't have the people in your life, your husband, your boyfriend, your family, really as your cheerleaders, it's just a lonely road.
I think it's also a balance with your children, and so you really can't build an organization without raising money. That often requires you to be out of town, but you really have to balance that. So if you read the book, What Would Jackie O Do? One of the lines in the book is, you know, never think that any moment in your career is more important than the moment in your child's life. So it's really keeping that balance there that's so critical. And you know, there's a lot of women. Joan Cooney created Sesame Street, went on and had a second husband. There are people that kind of embrace your visions, and then, but you do have to kind of keep your ego in check. And I always like to share mistakes. One of the worst things I ever did was send my investors pictures of me in People magazine, and they screamed at me. It's not about you. It's about what you're building and that cause. And so you always want to keep that front and center. So let's open it up. I think you have a question.
I don't remember what it is.
Well, I think it was around the funding that you got from some of your partners. I know at one point corporations were doing matching funds for employees. Do you see any money come from that? And I'm thinking for those of you that work in large companies that have that kind of program, in addition to any kind of grants or foundations, that's a way that you can make a difference.
Yeah, we certainly do. Cisco is probably the largest matching giver. But there's quite a few companies that are doing that, although it's diminishing a little bit because of the economy. So I'm hoping they'll come back to that. But some companies also match the volunteer efforts of their employees. I guess Brocade does that. And Cisco does that as well. So it's getting the word out and also finding out where volunteers work to see if, you know, and reminding them that there may be matching funds there available.
So can we hear about some of your visions? Do some of you have a passion or an area that you want to talk about? And hear about that? Tell us your name and where you're from. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you're good.
Hi, my name is Sulaida. I'm a first-year grad student at MBA at Santa Clara MBA program. And one cause that I'm really passionate about, it's kids in the foster care system. I've been able to volunteer with Child Advocates of Silicon Valley as a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate. And from that point on, my life will never be the same. And I think we've all been very privileged. We've been able to go to school and meet people, and when you get to compare your life to the life of the kids in the social care system, you kind of realize how lucky you are. So for me, I do want to be able to have a social enterprise, but I do also want to devote part of my life to kids in the foster care system. So now I'm in school, I have a job. How can I bridge where I am to where I want to go? So that's where I'm at. So maybe any thoughts or suggestions or.
Sure. I mean, I think that from my perspective, and I was in a session right before this on kind of reinventing your career, which I thought was really good. And I think one of the things I took away from that session and was very true to me is it's very hard to predict where you're going to be in 10 years. And I think it's up to you to develop all the skills you're going to need so that you can launch your social enterprise when you're ready to launch it. And if you feel really passionate about these things, it's reading books, taking classes, just being engaged in it, which isn't hard when you like the things that you're doing. And then ideas just develop. I think that you see business in some of these ideas, and then you start just doing business modeling and finding other people that might want to start the business with you and these types of things. But it's very hard to predict where you're going to be. So I think it's about building the skills necessary, even in your current job, with always that in your mind of where you want to be potentially in 10 years without necessarily knowing how you're going to get there, I think.
And you can align with this really smart engineer, build a for-profit business, and then create a social component for it. So it could go either way. I would say that the team that put this on today came up with a theme, be the change you want to see in the world. We're not out of central casting. They're not going to put us on The View tomorrow and say, you can change the world. We're not going to be on Saturday Night Live tonight. But we could do the Today Show in a minute. We could be a CNN hero. And the key is you have a moral responsibility to look at the world and to shine a light on people and causes that matter. And then whether it's through the people you follow on Twitter, by what you say on Twitter, by what people say about you as a team member on LinkedIn, you're the sum total of what you want to be. And if you choose great ideas and great causes, as these three amazing women did, and you're able to tell a story that causes people to really get it, to really make a difference, then people will want to be on your team. And once you've got a team, you can do, what the wonderful woman, the anthropologist Margaret Mead said, never underestimate a few people gathered together in a room that could make a difference. And if you can do that and you believe in yourself, it can all happen. So let's give let's give a round of applause and a few checks and some tons of hours to these three